Record some feedback for you on your first draft of your guidelines. These look really good so far. I think you've understood the context really well. My first comment is your title. I think you need to think about having a more catchy title that's more interesting for the TCKs to encourage them to read it. So it might be things like top 5 things to know when you're moving to Taiwan or something like that that would grab their attention. I'm Rachel, a senior who studied past tense. I'm assuming you're writing this as you now, in which case who studies, because you're still here now, present tense, in Taipei Kuishan School. We usually use at for a specific place, so here at Taipei Kuishan School. As a teenager, I think that I'm the most qualified person to tell you how to assimilate into our country and our culture. Really good, you've been able to relate to them really well, and you've explained your qualifications, your credentials really clearly. As the saying goes, when in Rome, do as the Romans do, is the saying. But a really nice use of that expression there. This guideline, so you can use this guideline, but normally you would say something like this leaflet or this article will provide some information from a teenager's point of view. Teenagers, possessive, so apostrophe S, on how to become a Roman. Really nice introduction. I think having the expression there and then linking it into what you're doing works really well. So number 1, be aware of language differences. As a TCK from Japan, it might be hard to learn the language at first. But the most important thing you should be careful of is that you should be aware of language differences. That's fine, it's a little bit of a long sentence, so you might be able to make your sentence a little bit more concise, but your meaning is clear. For example, do not feel rude. Do not think it is rude when a Taiwanese replies huh after your sentence. I heard that in Japanese, huh is present tense only used when people are fighting, but in Taiwan people are used to adding huh in front of every sentence. So you should know that when a Taiwanese replies, because it's third person singular, he, she, it, huh, after you, comma, it does not mean that they want to start a fight, but is only a word that people are used to saying. Yeah, that works well. You might be able to make this a little bit more concise. It's a little bit wordy to explain your meaning. So think about if you can make it more concise so that your language isn't as wordy and you express the same meaning. Here, so be aware, you've used the imperative to give a command or an order. So here I would suggest you do the same. So do not eat or drink in the MRT. Mass rapid transport, shortened as or abbreviated to, is normally how we would phrase it. Abbreviated to MRT is the main public transportation for Taiwanese. No matter whether you are going to your school or going somewhere else, Taiwanese people often take the MRT. However, the MRT, however, implies a contrast, but actually your contrast comes later. So you might say something like although the MRT is super comfortable and convenient, there is a strict rule for it. You cannot eat or drink in the MRT. I know that in Japan there isn't a rule like this, so please be careful not to eat or drink in the MRT. Really nice, and it works well that you've linked it to Japan as well. Get used to the right side. In Taiwan it's a little different to Japan. Japanese were would be the past tense. Here it's present tense, it's a general statement. Are used to doing something. Used to plus ing. So used to standing on the left side when you take the escalator, yet in Taiwan we stand on the right side. You don't need to repeat while taking the escalator because that's already clear from what you've said before. Moreover, the biggest difference might be the driving side of the car. For instance, in Taiwan, this is fine, but it's a bit wordy. It might be better to say in Taiwan we drive on the right, on the left, sorry, and in Japan you drive on the right. This is a challenge for you. That's quite strong. You might want to make it a little bit less strong by saying something like this may be a challenge for you, and you should practice more about how to drive safely on the left side. Really nice. The only other thing I think is that you need to add a conclusion at the end here to sum up your guideline. So, thank you so much for reading this. I hope this is helpful, something like that to conclude as well. But really good first draft, well done.